Good day everyone, I am your reporter Risa J. Estolloso and my topic is all about the Presidential Decree number 1594, prescribing policies, guidelines, rules, and regulations for government infrastructure contracts. For introduction, whereas the present policies, rules, and regulations covering government contracts for infrastructure and other construction projects are generally fragmented and have been found to be inadequate to cope with the intricate and complex process involved. Whereas there is a need to adopt a comprehensive, uniform, and updated set of policies, guidelines, rules, and regulations covering government contracts for infrastructure and other construction projects in order to achieve a more efficient and more effective implementation of these projects. Now, therefore, Ferdinand E. Marcos, or the President of the Philippines, by virtue of the powers vested in him by the Constitution, do hereby order and decree the following. So, in Section 1 are the policy objectives. It is the policy of the government to adopt a set rules and regulations covering government contracts for infrastructure and other construction projects which shall: Letter A. Bring about maximum efficiency in the project implementation and minimize project cost and contract variations through sound practices and contract management. Letter B. Promote a healthy partnership between the government and the private sector in furthering national development. And letter C is to enhance the growth of the local construction industry and optimize the use of indigenous manpower, materials, and other sources. So in this section, nag-create ang government of policy objectives in order for them na ma-maximize ang ilang efficiency and also to promote a healthy partnership between the government and also the private sector, and also to enhance the growth of the local construction. So in the section 2 are the detailed engineering. No bidding and or award of contract for a construction project shall be made unless the detailed engineering investigations, surveys, and designs for the project have been sufficiently carried out in accordance with the standards and specifications to be established under the rules and regulations to be promulgated pursuant to Section 12 of this decree, so as to minimize quantity and cost overruns and underruns, change orders and extra work orders, and unless the detailed engineering documents have been approved by the Minister of the Public Works, Transportation and Communications, the Minister of Public Highways, and of the Minister of Energy, as the case may be. So in Section 2 is no bidding or award of contract for a construction unless kay na ay ma-provide na mga investigation, surveys, or designs for the project, and also karang makarid nila ang mga standards and specifications of the promulgated pursuant to Section 12. And also, in order for the bidding to exist or karang na ay award na mag-exist is need maaprobahan sa Minister of Public Works, Transportation and Communications, the Minister of Public Highways, and the Minister of Energy. Next is the Section 3 or the pre-qualification of prospective contractors. So, a prospective contractor may be qualified to offer his bid or tender for a construction project only if he meets the following requirements. So, there are 4 requirements that needed. So, ang letter A is ang legal requirements, letter B is the technical requirements, letter C is the financial requirements, and letter D is the Filipino participation. So, in letter A, which is ang legal requirements, is the prospective contractor must have been licensed as a contractor for the current year pursuant to Republic Act No. 4566 and must have paid his privilege tax to practice or engage in the contracting business for the current year, and also must comply with the Administrative Order No. 66 of the Office of the President of the Philippines, and must comply with other existing pertinent laws, rules, and regulations. So, sa legal requirements is understandable naman na ang isa ka prospective contractor must required na license siya as a contractor for the current year, and also they need to pay their privilege tax and also must comply sa Administrative Order No. 66 and also to comply with other existing laws, rules, or regulations. So, sa letter B, or the technical requirements, so the prospective contractor must meet the following technical requirements to be established in accordance with the rules and regulations to be promulgated pursuant of Section 12 of this decree, to enable him to satisfactorily prosecute the subject project. So, ang una is ang competence and experience of the contractor in managing projects similar to the subject project. Number 2 is the competence and experience of the constructor's key personnel to be assigned to the subject project. And number 3 is availability and commitment of the contractor's equipment to be used for the subject project. So, there is sa technical requirements, ang first nila i-check ay syempre ang competence and experience nimo as a constructor to manage projects na similar sa subject project. And number 2, the competence and experience nimo sa or kanang experience sa imuhang mga personnel na i-assign nimo for the subject project. And number 3 is kung unsa ka available and unsa ka committed enough ang imuhang mga equipments o ang imong mga equipments para magamit sa subject project. So ang next is ang financial requirements. The net worth and liquid assets of the prospective contractor must meet the requirements to be established in accordance with the rules and regulations to be promulgated pursuant to Section 12 of this decree, to enable him to satisfactorily execute the subject project. The prospective contractor may be allowed to cover the deficiency in the required net worth through a line of credit fully committed to the subject project by a bank or financial institution acceptable to the ministry concerned. So, in these requirements, kailangan nimo maging financially stable kasi there are instances man, di ba nga, karang sa isa ka construction kay naa jud usahay kulang og gamit or kulang og equipment. So, in order for you to karang ma-execute ninyo ang inyong project, kailangan ninyo maging financially stable. So, next is ang letter D, which is ang Filipino participation. So, the government shall promote maximum participation of eligible Filipino contractors in all construction projects. So, in this, the government kay naapod sila right to promote mga contractors, Filipino contractors para sa tanan ng mga construction projects. Next is the Section 4 or BD. Construction projects shall generally be undertaken by a contract after competitive public bidding. So projects may be undertaken by administration or first account or by negotiated contract only in exceptional cases where time is of the essence or where there is lack of qualified bidders or contractors, or where there is a conclusive evidence that a greater economy and efficiency would be achieved through this arrangement, and in accordance with provision of laws and acts on matter subject to the approval of the Ministry of the Public Works, Transportation and Communications, the Minister of Public Highways, and or the Minister of Energy. And as the case may be, if the project cost is less than 1 million, and of the President of the Philippines upon the recommendation of the Minister, if the project cost is 1 million or more. So, a bidder's band in an amount to be established in accordance with the rules and regulations to be promulgated pursuant to Section 12 of this decree shall accompany the bid to guarantee that the successful bidder shall, within a prescribed period from a receipt of the notice of award, enter into account and furnish the required performance bond for the faithful and complete prosecution of the work specified in the contract documents. So, in Section 4, kay ang bidding. So, dali na maano kay, di ba na ay mga biddings na mahitabo if there are new projects na kailangan. So, ang ilahang buhatan is karang kung unsa ang gihatag sa minister sa each department sa transportation or public works, kung unsa nilang ihatag na budget lang sa isa ka projects, kay dito na magbidding ang mga contractors, and if walay mga contractors enough na magbid for the project is pwede na mag-check ang mga minister if they are qualified enough sa project. So next is the Section 5, award and contract. The contract may be awarded to the lowest pre-qualified bidder whose bid, as evaluated, complies with all the terms and conditions in the call for bid and is most advantageous to the government. To guarantee the faithful performance of the contractor, he shall, prior to the award, post a performance bond in an amount to be established in accordance with the rules and regulations to be promulgated under Section 12 of this decree. All awards and contracts duly executed in accordance with the provisions of the decree shall be subject to the approval of the Minister of the Public Works, Transportation, and Communications, the Minister of Public Highways, or the Minister of Energy as the case may be. So, after the bidding, syempre naman dyan makakuha sa project. So, kung kinsa to ang pinaka-qualified na bidder which is nag-comply in all the terms and conditions na gihatag sa government, then kailangan nila mag-post og performance bond which is kung unsa ang rules and regulations between sa contractor o sa government. Section 6 is the assignment and the subcontract. So, the contractor shall not assign, transfer, pledge, subcontract, or make any other disposition of the contract or any part of interest therein, except with the approval of the Minister of Public Works, Transportation and Communications, the Minister of Public Highways, or the Minister of Energy, as the case may be. Approval of the subcontract shall not relieve the main contractor from any liability or obligation under his contract with the government, nor shall it create any contractual relation between the subcontractor and the government. So, sa Section 6 is a contractor, katong contractor na nakuha, kay dili siya dapat mag-assign or transfer or to transfer mga subcontract. So, for example, karang nakagikuha ng mga contractor gawa sa imong project. So, dili na siya allowed unless if naa siya approval sa mga minister. And also, if there is an approval na sa imuhang na subcontract kay wala to siya connection sa main contractor or from any liability or obligation sa isa ka contract with the government. Section 7 or responsibility of the contractor. The contractor shall assume full responsibility for the contract work until its final acceptance by the government and shall be held responsible for any damage or destruction of works except those occasioned by force majeure. Except likewise, for force majeure, the contractor shall be fully responsible for the safety, protection, security, and convenience of his personnel, third parties, and the public at large, as well as the works, equipment, installation, and like to be affected by his construction works. So, sa responsibility of the contractor, so tanan na maisip nimo na pwede mahitabo sa isa ka construction or sa isa ka project kay responsibility gina siya sa contractor unless or except sa occasion or mga events na happen by force majeure. So, kara na siya ang mga events or mga happenings na uncontrollable. So, for example, may project na ginabuhat and naay nahitabo na war, kunwari naay war or hurricane or floods or karang bagyo. So, dili na siya control or dili na siya responsibility sa contractor if naay mahitabo or naay destruction or damage na mahitabo sa inyong project. The next is the Section 8 or the adjustment contract price. So, adjustment of contract price for construction project may be authorized by the Minister of Public Works, Transportation, and Communications, the Minister of Public Highways, and or the Minister of Energy as the case may be, upon recommendation of the National Economic and Development Authority, if during the effectivity of the contract, the cost of labor, equipment, materials, and supplies required for the construction should increase or decrease due to the direct acts of the government. The adjustments of the contract price shall be made using appropriate formulas established in accordance with the rules and regulations to be promulgated under the Section 12 of this decree. So, sa adjustment contract price, even na contractor ka, dili ka basta-basta maka-adjust sa inyong contract price. So, kailangan gihapon nimo og authority sa mga minister. And also, if naakay mga adjustments sa inyong contract price, kailangan nimo maging transparent in order for the ministers to check what is unsa ang imuhang mga recommendation to change the contract price. So, example ana is ang cost sa imong labor, equipments, or materials and supplies required for the construction. So, next is ang section 9, which is the change order and extra work order. A change order or extra work order may be issued only for works necessary for the completion of the project and therefore shall be within the general scope of the contract as bidded and awarded. All change orders and extra work orders shall be subject to the approval of the Minister of Public Works, Transportation, and Communications, the Minister of Public Highways, or the Minister of Energy as the case may be. So, kaning change order and extra work order kay niya karang common di siya mahitabo if ang project ninyo is hapit na matapos. So, if ang project ninyo is need na lang ang finishing ng mga works kay dara pwede sila mag extra work order, which is karang mag overtime, or pwede po sila mag change of order. It depends sa contractor, and also kailangan po siya og approval sa mga ministers. In Section 10, Inspection and Construction of Contract Work. Inspection of the contract work shall be made by the government while such contract work is in progress to ascertain that the completed works comply in all respects with the standards and requirements set forth in the contract documents. Notwithstanding such inspection, the contractor shall be held responsible for the acceptability of the finished works. The contractor shall promptly replace all materials and correct all works determined by the government as failing to meet the contract requirements. So, during nasa construction of the project, ay naay mahitabo na inspection ang government. So, dira nila i-check if na-meet ba or nag-fail ba ang isa ka contractor when it comes sa ilahang contract requirements. And if happens na ma-fail sila or dili nila to ma-meet ang requirements sa government, kay need nila to i-correct or need nila i-replace tong mga wala nila nabuhat na nakabutang sa ilahang contract. Moving on, in Section 11, Government's right to take over contract work. So, the government may take over the contract work should the contractor abandon the contract work or unduly delay the prosecution of the contract work or become insolvent or assign his assets for the benefit of his creditors, or be adjudged bankrupt or assign the contract work without written approval by the government or violate any condition or term of the contract. In any of these cases, the government may terminate the employment of the contractor and take over the contract work after giving due notice to the contractor and his sureties. Na-I right ang government na i-take over ang contract work, especially if ang contractor is karang gi-abandon niya ang project itself, and also there are delays na mahitabo sa contract work. Section 12, Implementing Rules and Regulations. The Minister of Public Works, Transportation, and Communications is the lead official. The Minister of Public Highways, the Minister of Energy, and the Director General of National Economic and Development Authority shall jointly promulgate the rules and regulations to implement the provisions of the decree. Once approved by the President of the Philippines, these implementing rules and regulations shall be applicable to all contracts for infrastructure and other construction projects of all government agencies, including government-owned or controlled corporations and or other instrumentalities. Section 13, Separability Clause. If any provisions of this decree is held unconstitutional, the other provision shall remain valid. In Section 14, Repealing Clause. All acts, charters, decrees, letters of instructions, executive orders, proclamations, rules and regulations or parts thereof in conflict with the provisions of this decree are hereby repealed or modified accordingly. And the last section, which is the effectivity. This decree shall take effect immediately. Done in the city of Manila this 11th day of June in the year of our Lord 1978. And that is all my report according to the Presidential Decree number 1594.